This video is going to show you how to do the Dear Abby assignment, how to find it and how to turn it in, and then how to see your grade and the feedback. So for most of the assignments, you're going to be able to find them under the content section. So when you open the home screen of the class, you'll click on content, and then over here in this menu, you need to click on whatever unit we're in. So we're just going to use unit 1 for an example to be able to find the Dear Abby file. So you have to download a file to be able to find the questions that you're answering for that Dear Abby assignment. So let's click on unit 1, then you need to scroll down here to unit 1 activities. So that's where you'll find the instructions and to be able to download the files for all of the assignments. So here's the list of all the unit 1 assignments. So we're going to click on Dear Abby. It's going to explain how it works, gives you some instructions here. This is also where you can turn in your file. If you're here in the content section, you can turn it in right here. There's one other place that I'll show you you can turn it in as well, but you can turn it in here. So you're going to need to download it. You can do it via PDF or Microsoft Word, whichever you want. So you need to click on that name of the file to download it. Then it will bring up the file with all the Dear Abby questions. So here's the one for Unit 1. You do not have to answer all the questions. I'll go over the instructions a little bit more detail here in a minute, but basically here's the questions. So you just pick which one you want. You need to do 3 from each chapter. So you're not answering all the questions. And then you can, if you want, type it into here, like create a new text box and answer it right on this file. Sometimes that causes formatting issues and people have had problems with that in the past. So it's totally fine to just copy and paste whatever questions you want into a new Word document. So just keep that in mind. I don't care about the formatting at all. As long as the questions are in there and the answers are in there, you can create a new file if you'd like. But please do keep it in a Word or a PDF because those are the ones that work through the iLearn. Some file types, like on a Mac or something like that, don't work. So like if you turn it in as a Pages file or a Google Doc or something like that, I will not be able to see it. So just make sure it's a Word or a PDF. Okay, so the other place that you can turn it in is under Assignments. So we'll click on Assignments. So this shows the different folders for each unit. So here's the things that you'll be turning in for Unit 1. So you can see here if you have turned it in or not. There will be something showing that you have a submission right there. So if you're not sure if you turned it in, you can always check here. But if you just click on the name of it, that will take you to this where you can submit the file. So you just add your file from your computer that you have saved and then click submit. So I wanted to go over a few things about the Dear Abby because it can be a little confusing. So here's some tips. I do have this file on the announcement that you can download yourself. So don't worry if you don't have to watch this video every time you have a question. You can look at this file through that announcement that has the Dear Abby help. Okay, so the word count is important on this assignment. It's the only one that does require a word count. It has to be at least 2,200 words, but that's for the whole assignment. So all 9 questions and answers. So just when you're finished, just do a word count over your whole entire file, and that needs to be at least 2,200. So the way the class works is that it's broken down into units, and there are 3 or 4 chapters in each unit. So then when I say the whole file and the unit and things like that, that's what I'm talking about. So the first Dear Abby is going to be chapter 2, 3, and 4. Then the next one is going to be 5, 6, and 7, and that's considered unit 2. So anyway, there are no questions for chapter 1. So don't worry when you don't see any questions for chapter 1. On these Dear Abbeys, they need to be expert answers. So I do not want to hear personal opinions on this one. This one needs to be more scientific. I do like to hear your personal stories, but that would be more appropriate maybe for the journal or something like that. So all the answers need to come from the textbook, from the videos, things like that. So make sure that you're citing things properly though. Don't just copy and paste it straight from the textbook. Um, you need to put it into your own words, because if you're just copying and pasting straight from the textbook, then that's plagiarism. So we can't do that. If you do use a direct quote, you need to use quotation marks. Another tip for these Dear Abbeys is that you need to use specific concepts and correct vocabulary words. So instead of just kind of a general saying like, oh, you need to eat healthy, you need to say, eating healthy includes, and then you can list out what foods are recommended and what things that you should avoid and, things like that. So it's much more specific. Um, and as far as the correct vocabulary, instead of saying brain development, that's too general. So you're going to want to say specifically what part of the brain is developing and what's happening in that process, things like that. So the more specific, the better, and always use the correct vocabulary words. So if you're talking about a theory or something and you're just kind of saying about it in general, you need to explain this comes from Piaget's theory and this stage is called pre-operational. Just give more examples and more specific things. Anytime you are using an idea from the textbook, you need to put a page number behind your answer. And you'll see how to do it right here. At the end of your sentence, just put what page it came from. You need to have at least one page number reference for every answer. If you don't have any page numbers, you won't get full credit for that. So just make sure you're putting the page number. Also be careful about using internet websites. I know sometimes it's helpful to get some extra resources, and like if there's something that's not quite clear in the textbook, you want to look it up. That's totally fine. There are some websites out there that are dishonest and people go to them specifically just to copy answers and cheat. And I will be on the lookout for those. So just be really careful about the websites that you use. And when you do use one, you need to tell me what website that was and cite your source. So you can do the same thing as this, but just put the name of the website. The last tip is to work on this assignment as you go through each chapter. So while you're doing your reading, say you're reading chapter 2, go ahead and look through the Dear Abby questions right then. That way you don't have to go back at the end of the unit and try to remember the stuff that was in chapter 2. It'll be a whole lot easier if you do it as you go along. Also, there's a bunch of assignments due at the end, and so if you kind of pace yourself, it'll be easier that you're not waiting till the very last minute. So I think that's it for the Dear Abby. Hopefully that explains how that assignment works. But just let me know if you have any questions.